Well, first off, it's good to see you. Hope all is well. We'll just take me through heading into this season. How has progress been with the group, and what have you liked so far?
Well, I think we all know it's been an adjustment. It's kind of been different. Normally you sit down and make out a practice plan, you kind of put it down for a month or 6 weeks ahead of time. This has kind of been, week by week, day by day, basically. And, so far, hey, knock on wood, our guys have been great. Somehow we've managed to get this point without shutting down. You look across the country, college basketball, there's a lot of programs that have shut down, a lot of individuals been shut down, but to our guys' credit, we found ways to be disciplined enough away from basketball. Our administration has done a great job here, trying to, protect us the best we can. But again, when your guys leave the facilities, they're away from you for, 12, 16 hours. And that's when they got to make the right decision. So, we're just hoping we can get on the plane on Monday, be physically healthy and be virus free. We're done with our testing protocol to do that. I guess we read our next test when we get off the plane in Nebraska. So from that standpoint, it's been adjustment. Our team, we have enough guys back. I don't think it's been a huge adjustment for us, trying to fit in some new pieces. Cooper didn't play last year, then trying to mix in, the new guys, the 3 or 4 new guys into the mixed. Then, getting Charles back in the flow after missing the season. So even though we've got an experienced team, there's been some adjustments we have to make. But, I like our young men as people. They've been very coachable. They've worked hard. Like everybody else, I'm sure we're ready to play somebody else and up, laying wood on each other. I think every coach across America, it's a little bit of adjustment. Normally you get a little bit of a trial and error, playing some exhibition games, playing, some so-called bye games early where you could experiment and kind of get a little bit of rhythm with your rotations and, learn a little bit more about your team till you get thrown into the fire. Well, we don't have any of those opportunities. Forget all that. We'll get thrown into the fire right off the bat against a really good Nevada basketball team.
Coach Jared McDonald with the Daily News here. I know you talked about some of those adjustments, some of those key pieces coming back. Do you have a set starting 5 or a set rotation that you'd like to go into the season with at this point?
Jared, I've always said this. It don't matter who starts. You don't always start your best team sometimes. You may start your best. You may start guys based on experience. Chemistry. But doesn't always mean that's your best team and the guy's going to play best minutes. So I've always said this. Everybody knows about those 5 that go out there. The keys to your team is always 6, 7, 8, 9, maybe 10. I think we've got some depth. Those are the guys that are keys to your team, because a lot of those guys right there could be starters too. And everybody wants to be starters. But sometimes it's how those young men, and sometimes they'll play starter minutes and they may be starters, for the years over. So I don't really get caught up in that. But those guys are the key to your team, how they can handle a different role than a lot of them are used to having. And again, those roles change, but again, I really don't put a whole lot of stock in that starting 5. You guys know who will start already. I don't want to tell you.
Coach Jared with the Daily News again. Tavion's a guy that we've talked about a lot. We talked about him the last time we had you on one of these Zooms. Obviously statistics speak for themselves, but going back 4 or 5 years from now, whenever you first met him, I guess, what was your first impression of Tavion, and how have you seen him grown throughout these last few years heading into this year?
Well, I think there's one thing's always kind of been a common thread with him is he could always just score the basketball. He wasn't a great shooter coming out of high school at all. He didn't have a lot of threes, but he had something a lot of players don't have. He had a great mid-range game. And I think probably since then he's expanded his game. He's expanded his three-point capabilities. And again, there's no substitute for experience. He had a tremendous freshman year for us. I think he was a freshman then. You guys tell me if he wasn't. I can remember late in that year, one of those last games I did NIT at Oklahoma State. Was he a freshman then? And basically took that game over. I think he ended up with 30 points at Oklahoma State in a huge game. We'd seen a lot of that from him already, but that night again, that showed again, stage was too big for him, and he don't worry about a lot of things. Like I say, he's kind of just wired to score, and there's no substitute for the experience he's gained through these 3 years.
Coach, it's Jeff Lights here from WBKO. Just how is Charles and kind of how has his game changed? We really haven't seen him for a full season since his freshman year. So how kind of has his game changed from then up until what we'll see this season?
Well, like you said, we lost Charles. I guess it was the 8th game last year, wasn't it? I think it was Arkansas for sure in here, late in that game. And, he'd had a good year up to that point. I do believe, again, there's no substitute for some experience he's gained, but not between the lines. He went through something that, it's not easy for anybody. To tear up a knee, not for sure if he can play, if he can't play, what's that do for you mentally? How hard are you willing to work to try to get back? And I can say this about Charles. He never missed a beat through his rehab. He worked harder than he's ever worked in his life. While the rest of us was locked down, he was locked down at home and up here in rehab with our trainers, with John and our strength coach, and every day. I do think mentally going through this, it's made him stronger. You don't want anybody to have to go through this to get stronger mentally, but I think he has. I think it's made him appreciate a few things a little differently, look at things a little bit differently. And as a player, I think he's a better player now than he was. That's my feelings about it. So again, he hadn't had a chance to line up and go against another team for almost a year. So we'll find out here in a few days, but I like where he's at this point for sure, physically and mentally.
Coach, this is Nick Keyser from the College Heights Herald. So, we've talked to you about, watching Netflix and, getting ready for the season, and just how eager are you to hop on that plane on Monday to head out there to go play Nebraska?
Hey, Nick, it's been our challenge from day one. Like I said earlier, you look across the country, there's a lot of programs right now not going to start off on November 25th. You see it every day, programs pushing their start dates back. What happened to us last year, not being able to finish the season and, missing the opportunity, to play your conference tournament and, a chance to get to the NCAA tournament. That's tough. That was tough on a lot of guys, especially, kind of what that bunch had overcome already. So for them to have any setbacks through all this would have been very challenging. We'd had to handle it. But like I said earlier, to their credit, I couldn't have asked more from them. We've managed to get this point right now on Friday, virus free, the whole program. I know they're excited, just like, we're all excited. I think everybody's excited just to get college basketball started. It's not going to be normal. It's not going to be like it always is. Hey, like this ain't normal. Hey, but you know something? This may become a norm. This is not bad. Right here, look at all you guys at once. I know Zach likes it because he said he don't have to feed you guys. So this could be a good norm that we come out of this with. But well, I'm excited to answer your question, Nick, as well as our players. I don't know which one of those guys you are going to talk to, but I'm sure they'll tell you the same thing. We're all just excited to have an opportunity with everything that's going on across the country, everything we've been through since last March, to get back on that stage. And that's the one place that we're all in our comfort zone. That's playing basketball. And there's a lot of us haven't been in that comfort zone for a long time.
Coach, this is Hal. You talked about in years past, sometimes you haven't had guys that can jump up and make shots. Do you feel like this is the best crop of shooters, guys that can put it in the hole that you've had since you've been here?
Well, we'll miss a guy from last year now, Hal. We'll miss a guy that was really good at jumping up and making a shot, and that was Jarrett. He was a terrific player for us, and he got better for us. And we will miss that part of his game besides the leadership he had. I think we have, multiple guys that score different ways. I think Tavion's continued to become a better shooter every year as he one of those knockdown guys. I think his ability to score, allows him to get a lot better 3-point shots. Josh is better than he was. No question he's better. Coop has some ability to make some shots. Rawls, no question, can make some shots. And, I think the JC kid, Kevin, can make some shots. Carson made shots last year. I think you'll see Charles make some shots this year, something you haven't seen. I think you'll have some ability, give him some more flexibility to do that. And then Luke, Luke, that's what his role is. I mean, he's a guy that can make shots, and he's made them all fall for us. So, again, we're just anxious to put them all together out there playing somebody else and start trying to get some rhythm and chemistry with our lineups and our subbing and, what guys can do what in the games. Some guys can do different things. Some guys do things better at 3:00 than they can 7:00 at night. In a real game, got to figure that out a little bit with them. But I do like my team, Hal, if that's what you're asking. I like my team. I like the pieces. I think our pieces fit well.
Coach Jared McDonald with the Daily News. You mentioned the leadership with Jared Savage just a minute ago. With an experienced group like you have with Tavion, with Carson, with Kenny Cooper now, has there been a guy step up and be the leader of the team, or is it more of a collective effort?
I think right now it's more of a collective effort. I think it's very obvious. Tavion's a guy that we put in that role. Cooper's a guy we put in that role. Yeah, and again, I always say this, you can't lead anybody unless you lead yourself first. So if everybody can lead themselves first, everybody, it's easier as a collective group. But I think we got multiple guys can. Charles is, I think he's, his experience now, who he is, he's much better. Josh, I think, is better. Luke's a new guy that's got experience. He's new here, but he's got some experience. I think he's a guy, as we play on, he's got to figure out, we need more from him from that standpoint. I think he can give that to us. So, again, I think it's more we'll get it from a collective group of guys, but we need those veteran guys to keep stepping up.
Taryn Johnson, WKY 40. Coach, you mentioned facing a tough challenge right off the bat. From your perspective, what has the process been like in trying to prepare your guys to take on 5 strong opponents in an 8-day window right at the beginning of the season?
Well, you guys have been around long enough. Hey, I don't think we've ever shied away from competition. I don't think any of y'all could ever say that. No matter when it was, who it was, we wanted competition. And I think that, you guys know what the record is against some of that competition. I've always said as a coach, you play up, you work up the expectations. Our expectations are the same every year, and we want great competition to do that. Your players, these 5 or 6 weeks we've been practicing, they want competition. And again, competition brings out the best and the worst of you. Well, we need to find out both. We don't need to come out here of the gate and, have a bunch of patsies and all of a sudden you're 7 or 8-0 going into league play, which is easy to do. And a lot of people across the country do that. We've never taken that route. I love the competition. I love the opportunities. And like you just said, we've got them. We're going to open up against a really good Nevada team. Guess came in second in that league last year in Mountain West behind San Diego State. And, Coach Alford, everybody knows who he is, came from UCLA, and he'll do a tremendous job. And then after that, one day, less than 24 hours after that, you have LSU, who's been picked, I've seen as high as 15, I think, by Lindy's, and several people, Vitale has them 18th or 19th, and they're in the top 20 in a lot of polls. They had 3 guys enter the draft last year, and all 3 of them came back. They signed, probably the best scorer in high school basketball, the kid from Oak Hill, who can really score. They've got a couple transfers, and big transfer from Washington State, Ben Johnson, 7'7" kid. And so they're really, really talented. Anytime you're picked in the top 15 in the country and top of the SEC, you're a pretty good team. So again, our first focus will be totally on Nevada.
Coach Jared with the Daily News, with Nevada, I know you mentioned their coach, but player-wise, what's the scouting report on that team?
Well, hey, Jared, not a whole lot of scouting report right now. Won't be no film. We will not see no exhibition games or anything like that. Here's what we do know. They had 3 kids setting out. They had a kid from Sheffield, kid from Wichita State, set out for a year, really good player. Had a kid from Brown, average 18 at Brown, really shoot it, set out. And they had a 7-footer from Oregon State setting out. They lost 3 or 4 starters off that team, but they recruited some other big guys. Don't know a lot about a lot of them. Hey, when they run out there and start running that first play, you always see it for the first time, just like I did, whatever it is. And we'll all have to make that adjustment accordingly to what they're doing at that point.
Coach, this is Jeff Lightsey from WBKO again. Just, you talked about playing all those tough teams in a short amount of time. What do you hope to learn about your team before you start your conference play, going through that, those 5-game stretch with some really good competition?
I think the biggest thing with our team, we just got to get a little bit of rhythm, chemistry to our rotations. That'll be our challenge. We haven't had an opportunity to do that. You play 5-on-5 here, which means you're not subbing. Those guys are playing each other. So once you get into playing other people, it's not going to be 5 players out there at a time. So that will be adjustment. To some teams and players, there'll be some adjustments playing in empty arenas. That may dictate how I coach some. And what I mean by that, I may dictate, how much I maybe press, because pressing's, sometimes I always said you can do things better at home than you can on the road because of the motion of the buildings. So those are adjustments I think we'll all have to look at as we move on. The benches are going to be totally different. That'll be adjustment. When you look around, you got people 50 feet from you down there, 3 rows from you. That's adjustment. But it's adjustment for everybody. We've all made a lot of adjustments, and whatever it is, our team's got enough experience that we'll adjust to it and we'll get better from it. These 5 games will make us better because all of them are good teams.
We got to get Luke on before weights. Everybody good with Coach? All right.
Everybody good?
Thank you, guys.
See you guys.